The clock on Mia's phone read 8:45 p.m. Too late to be walking home alone. The street stretched empty ahead of her. The usual evening buzz long faded. Streetlights flickered sporadically, their dim yellow glow barely cutting through the growing mist. The air was thick with dampness, carrying the distant scent of rain-soaked asphalt. Mia adjusted her backpack, shifting its weight, but the unease pressing against her chest didn't go away. She hated walking alone this late, but her mother's strict curfew meant she couldn't afford to wait for a ride. The quickest way home was through the alley near the old church. She always avoided it after dark, until tonight. Then she heard it, a footstep, not her own. Mia froze. Slowly, she turned, her heart hammering against her ribs. Nothing, just the empty street, stretching back into the darkness. She shook her head. I'm just imagining things. But the weight of unseen eyes lingered, crawling up her spine. She walked faster. The alley loomed before her, narrow and uninviting. The old brick walls were covered in faded graffiti, and the scent of damp concrete lingered. The yellow glow of a single streetlight barely reached the center of the passage, leaving the edges swallowed in shadow. Mia hesitated. A part of her screamed to turn around, to take the longer, safer route, but she'd already wasted too much time. Taking a deep breath, she stepped in. Her sneakers echoed against the walls. Each step bounced back at her in strange, warped echoes. The alley was cold in the street, the air thick and heavy, pressing against her skin. Then movement. At the far end of the alley, past the dim glow of the streetlight, a figure stood, tall, unnaturally thin. It didn't move, didn't breathe, just stood there, watching. Mia's breath hitched. She took a step back. The streetlight above her flickered. Darkness swallowed the alley for less than a second. When the light returned, the figure was gone. Mia broke into a fast walk, her heart still racing from the alley. Emerging onto the main road, she felt a moment of relief. The wider space, the brighter streetlights, it should have made her feel safer. But the feeling of being watched hadn't faded. If anything, it had grown stronger. Then she caught something in the glass of a storefront window, a reflection, not just her own. Behind her, barely a few steps away, a shadowy form loomed. Its limbs were impossibly long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, its eyes hollow. A sickening dread coiled in her stomach. Mia spun around. Nothing was there. The street was empty, but when she turned back to window, the reflection was still there, watching. Mia ran the rest of the way home, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Her house stood at the end of the street, its porch light flickering just like the street lights. She practically stumbled onto the steps, fumbling with her keys, her hands shaking so badly she dropped them. Come on, she whispered, scrambling to pick them up. The street behind her was silent, still, but she knew something was there, watching, waiting. Finally, the key slid into the lock. She turned it and threw the door open, slamming it shut behind her. The house was silent. Her breath slowed. Her pulse pounded in her ears. Then, a single, deliberate knock. Mia's stomach turned to ice. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't random. It was slow, measured, as if whatever was outside knew she was there. She backed away from the door. But curiosity, cold and cruel, gripped her. She had to check. With trembling hands, she leaned in toward the peephole. At first, she saw nothing but the empty porch. Then, a face rushed toward the peephole, pressing against the glass. Hollow, sunken eyes, a twisted, gaping mouth. Mia screamed and stumbled backward. The lights in the house flickered. Then they went out. A whisper slithered through the dark. You're not alone. Mia's heart pounded. The house was completely dark. The only faint light came from the moon filtering through the curtains. Every shadow in the room stretched and shifted, unnatural in their movement. Something was inside. She could feel it. The air was heavy, thick, like something unseen was pressing against her skin. Her breath came in short, uneven gasps. She tried to move, but her legs wouldn't obey. Then, a creak, not from the door, from inside the house. Mia turned, her eyes straining against the darkness. A shape moved in the hallway, long distorted limbs. Too many fingers. It stepped closer, impossibly slow. Mia opened her mouth to scream, but the whisper came first. "You're not alone." Then silence, and the darkness swallowed her whole. The darkness felt alive. Mia's breath was shallow, her heart hammering. The whisper had vanished, but the air was thick with something unseen. The hallway stretched before her, its shadows shifting unnaturally. Then movement. A tall, spindly figure stood at the end of the hall. It didn't move. It only watched. Mia clamped a hand over her mouth, backing away. The floor creaked beneath her feet, and in an instant, the figure lurched forward. Mia ran. Mia burst into the living room, scrambling for her phone. The screen wouldn't turn on. The lights flickered back to life, casting erratic shadows across the walls. But when Mia turned, the figure stood inches away. It towered over her, its head tilting as though studying her. Its hollow eyes pulsed with something unnatural. The lights cut out again. A whisper brushed against her ear. "You can't run." Mia bolted toward the front door, her fingers fumbling at the lock. The knob wouldn't turn. A slow, rhythmic knocking sounded from the other side. Then, a second knock. From behind her, her stomach twisted. Something was inside and outside. The lights flickered once more, revealing a dozen shadowy figures lining the room. The whispers filled the room, overlapping, growing louder. "Mia, you see us now." Her knees buckled. The walls seemed to pulse as the figures inched closer, their limbs twitching unnaturally. She clenched her eyes shut. This isn't real. It can't be real. Then silence. When she opened her eyes, she was alone, but her reflection in the dark window wasn't hers. It smiled. Mia's heart pounded as she stepped back from the window. Her reflection didn't move with her. Instead, it leaned closer, its grin widening. The lips parted, but no sound came. Then, slowly, "They're coming!" Mia gasped as a handprint appeared on the glass. From the inside, she stumbled backward. The house groaned. Something wasn't right. Mia turned to run, but the house had changed. The hallway stretched impossibly long, dimly lit by flickering bulbs. The doors were gone. Only darkness remained. A slow scraping sound echoed behind her. She turned. A faceless figure stood there, dragging its nails along the wall. It stepped forward. Mia ran. At the end of the endless hall, a single door waited. Something on the other side whispered her name. Her hand trembled as she reached for the knob. The moment she touched it, the whisper stopped. A single knock came from the other side. Then the door burst open. Darkness swallowed her whole. Mia blinked. She wasn't in her house anymore. She stood in a dimly lit room, filled with familiar objects. Her childhood toys, old school photos, a music box she lost years ago. But the air was wrong. Everything was watching her. The music box clicked open on its own, playing a distorted lullaby. Then, a second Mia stepped out from the shadows, and she was smiling. Mia's throat tightened as she stared at her identical double. The other Mia's grin never wavered. "You shouldn't have come here," it whispered. The music box played slower, warping the melody. The walls shifted, pulsing like something alive. Then, the other Mia's face twisted. "They're here." The walls cracked open. Shadowed hands reached through, clawing at the air. Whispers flooded the room. Mia backed away, but the other Mia grabbed her wrist. "Run!" The world shattered like glass. Mia fell into darkness. Mia landed hard on pavement. She gasped, looking up. She was back outside. But something was wrong. The street stretched forever. The houses were hollow shells, their windows like black eyes. No moon, no stars, only them. Figures stood in every doorway, watching, waiting. Then they stepped forward. The air grew heavy. The figures surged forward, moving in jerky, unnatural motions. Their whispers became screams. Mia ran, but no matter how fast she moved, the street never ended. Then A single streetlight flickered ahead. A lone figure stood beneath it. It was her, smiling, waiting. Mia skidded to a stop, breathless. The other Mia stood beneath the flickering streetlight, her grin wide, too wide. You can't escape. The figures behind Mia rushed closer, their whispers turning into shrill, distorted screams. Mia clenched her fists. No, she wasn't going to let this thing win. She charged straight at her smiling twin. The other Mia didn't move as Mia lunged. Their bodies collided, but instead of resistance, Mia fell through her. The world rippled. Darkness rushing from all sides, swallowing the street, the figures, everything. A single voice echoed in the void. Wake up. Mia's eyes snapped open. She was lying in her bed. Her room was normal. The morning sun filtered through the window. It had all been a dream, right? She sat up, heart pounding, and froze. On her desk, the old music box sat open. It was still playing. Mia's hands trembled as she closed the music box. She turned to look in the mirror. Her reflection stared back. For a long moment, everything was normal. Then, it blinked. Mia hadn't. And slowly, her reflection's lips curled into a smile.